My philosophy in everything I do with founders is that I look at everything through donor and funder perspectives. So everything I design has the nonprofit in mind, but approaches the task from donor and funder perspectives. In this episode, I'm looking at the details of being grant ready from the funder's perspective. So, let's jump in. Grants should be part of a fundraising plan. So, looking at this from a foundation standpoint, they want to know you are a good investment. They see you as an investment. And so, when grants are part of a fundraising plan, you are showing them that you've thought this through and you are going to be a good steward of their money. Founders want to know that they made the right investment. And so the reason you get reporting deadlines and sometimes different strings come attached is because they want to make sure that they have made the right investment. So by following up with you and making you accountable, they can prove that to their stakeholders. Because foundations, they have donors, they have a board of directors, they have people they are accountable to. They're accountable to the IRS too. So they have to be able to prove that they have made a good investment when they gave you that grant. So let's talk about a few things that makes you a good investment. So you have your organizational resources ready. You have your 501c3s. The reason foundations like to give to 501c3s is that by IRS regulation, a foundation has to give for charitable purposes. So a 501c3 nonprofit is the easiest way they can prove they complied with that regulation. I mean, think about it. The IRS has said that you are a charitable organization. Who's going to argue with the IRS, right? The IRS? No. Next, your mission statement. Your mission statement align missions of foundations to your nonprofit. What this means, I see this backwards all the time. New nonprofits, new grant writers will go out and they will say, okay, what is the foundation's mission? Do we fit it? Or can we make their mission fit ours? So they go out and they start looking. Well, you need to be looking for foundation missions that align to you. Don't go trying to make your mission fit theirs. That's a recipe for disaster. Make sure that you are finding foundations whose mission aligns very easily with yours. If you have to try and make it fit, like having a puzzle and having that puzzle piece and having to hit with a hammer trying to get it to get in there, that's not a good fit. It needs to fit pretty easily. Next, your mission statement needs to be unique. If your mission statement is like 5 other mission statements in your area of organizations, it's not unique. And it's not going to be something that a funder probably will fund, because if there's an organization who's older than you with the same mission statement, they'll probably get funded. If there's an organization that they have funded before and they have the same mission statement, they'll probably get funded over you. Simply because they know that that organization is going to do what they're supposed to do. So, make sure your mission statement is unique. Make sure it's clear, no jargon, and no one-sentence paragraph. It needs to be concise and very clear. I need to know what you are doing. How are you making an impact in the community? And last, it needs to be doable. Save the planet or saving the planet is not doable. It's a great slogan, but if you don't tell me how you're going to do it, it's not doable. I have no idea if you've saved the planet or not, right? Next, your board of directors. I say this often. Foundations don't want to be the only ones invested. And if your board of directors aren't invested, then why should anyone else be? So, boards, they provide the leadership of the organization. They focus and steer the organization's goals with the mission in mind. Make sure the organization is operating legally. That is a fiduciary responsibility or duty of the board. Your boards should also be active and meeting monthly. And we've talked about this before. Maybe your bylaws don't say monthly, maybe they say every other month or every quarter, or there's some other kind of schedule. That's okay. You just need to make sure that you are meeting regularly and you have those meeting minutes. Boards should take the lead in fundraising activities. I know they don't want to, but they've got to. This is one of those times when they must lead by example. Next, connect the organization to other donors and foundations in the community. Board members need to use their contacts in the community and with other donors to help you further fundraising and those funding efforts. If you have a board member, I've said this before, there's a member of your board that regularly plays golf, like every Saturday plays golf with another board member on this foundation over here. They do this every Saturday. Your board member needs to be talking to that funder, his friend who is on the foundation's board, to see how you can get that funding. Because let me tell you, if you can have someone on the other board who is in support of your organization, things get funded a whole lot easier. Next, board members need to invest time and money. I can't tell you this enough. They need to be investing their time and their money. If they're not investing, how can they ask anyone else to? And foundations will look at this and they'll think the same thing. If your board members aren't passionate enough about your organization, why should we be? Next, the characteristics of the board. Boards have committees, so they're going to look for committees. Unless you have a very tiny board, that's a different story. Another thing is that boards should be diverse in experience and ethnicity. So that means they need to have different areas of expertise. And these should all be areas that your nonprofit needs. And then, you need different viewpoints, different experiences on your board. That's why we look for a diverse ethnicity. Simply because we need to have some different perspectives. And your board should mirror your target population. If your target population is Hispanic people, then you need Hispanic people on your board. It's very simple, because those board members have a very unique perspective of where your target population is coming from. And that is completely invaluable when you go to look at programs and marketing and the needs of that population. Next, advisory board. These are little boards that have community participation, and it augments your board. So foundations like to see community support and engagement. Again, they don't want to be the only ones invested. So if you can show that there are other people invested, you have donors, you have a fundraising amount that comes in fairly regularly, you have an advisory board made up of community members, you have other different ways that the community is supporting and engaging in your nonprofit. Volunteers, that's another way. Then you become a good investment. You have the backing of the community, and you are a good investment. Next, you need a strategic plan. This needs to be a 5-year plan to start, and you must execute and evaluate your plan. So that brings us to the tactical plan. And the tactical plan is how you execute and evaluate your strategic plan. Your tactical plan is just for 1 year. It's a 1-year snapshot of your strategic plan. So you're going to take the tactical plan for this year, and you're going to go through your strategic plan and say, okay, what have we accomplished? What haven't we accomplished? What do we need to accomplish this year? And so the reason why, from a funder's perspective, that you need a strategic and a tactical plan is because it's proof you are working towards your goals. Well, first of all, the strategic plan is proof you have goals, right? You have a vision for 5 years down the road, and your tactical plan is proof that you are working towards those 5-year goals. So, moving forward, you want to begin establishing a history of success and document achievements and accomplishments. You need to keep a track record of successes. Also, you might want to start thinking about letters of support from community leaders and organizations. As you work with community leaders, as you work with other organizations, then you might ask them to write a letter of support for your organization. These can be used as proof that you have community support. All right, let's talk about operational resources that you need to get together. So, obviously, you need your EIN, your employee identification number. You need operational systems, reporting requirements to local, state, and federal agencies. You need to know what they are, and you need to be reporting when you're supposed to report. You need systems for effective operations. Do you have partnerships? Will your organization be partnering with another agency or organization? Next, you have your financial resources together. So you have an operating budget. This is your annual budget that is approved by the board. Some of the things that you're going to put in this budget: you've got your rent, your salaries, your program operations, your website, insurance. Little side note: any Georgia nonprofit with 3 or more employees is required to have workman's compensation insurance by law. Now, Georgia actually requires that officers are counted to determine the number of employees in the business, even if they aren't compensated. So if I have 3 board members, I have to have workman's compensation if I'm in Georgia. These are things you need to know for your state that your organization is in. Next, fundraising. This is something you put into your budget as income. So again, it comes from a fundraising plan. So obviously we need a fundraising plan. That fundraising plan will have a budget in it for your fundraising. I'm sure you've heard the saying before, you have to have money to make money, right? So, or you have to spend money to make money is more accurate, right? And that's true with fundraising. There are some upfront costs that you're going to have for certain fundraising activities. And so you've got to have that money budgeted. Foundations like to know they aren't the only source of income. So your fundraising plan helps them understand that you have a strategy to get individual donors. You have a strategy to get corporations involved. You have a strategy to get other grant funders involved. That's what your fundraising plan is all about. So your goal here is to show a donor program and community engagement. And don't forget the step-by-step blog post and free worksheet for the first year fundraising plan at nonprofitfounders.club/first year fundraising plan. And I will put that in the notes. Next, we have the board of directors. I know we've talked about how important they are, but you are a good investment if your board of directors has 100% participation. Now, the good news is, for a lot of grants, you get to define what participation means. So maybe it's they come to board meetings, they give a certain amount, and whatever else you want to put into that participation number. But you're looking for 100% participation. Next, you are a good investment if you have stable finances, which means you have multiple income streams. You are in the black. You meet local, state, and federal requirements. So you have your 990 or 990EZ. That's one of those requirements. You have accurate reporting. This can be for your budget, for your financials, for your targets and outcomes for your programs. You need accurate reporting. Next, an independent accounting review. And that would be if your budget is under $250,000. If it's over $250,000, you need an audit. Then the last thing is programs. You need to provide specific purpose for funds, and that's what a program does. It does help you have a specific purpose for funds. your program will establish need. It's going to have measurable results, and you are going to keep track of those measurable results. Your board will approve your program budget. You're going to answer the question, how will you sustain the program? You'll have program goals for 12 months. And so these are all things that you need to think about with your programs, because these are things that make you a good investment. And I have a program development blog post, develop a grant-ready program, and a free worksheet at nonprofitfounders.club if you're interested, and I will put that link in the show notes too. So becoming grant-ready requires hard work. You may or may not get the grant, but you will build a nonprofit that is able and ready to find, accept, and handle funding. And so when you start doing this grant-ready process, you're not only becoming grant-ready, but you're becoming funding-ready. If you would like a comprehensive grant process readiness checklist that has everything we've talked about this month to help you be grant ready, I will provide that link in the show notes or the description also. All right, that's all for this episode. I will see you next time.